Okay, we're going to call this meeting to order for November 14th, 2017 of the Rising Sun Town Council. Can we have a roll call, please?
Commissioner Braun, Commissioner Pearson,
Here.
Commissioner Warnick,
Present.
Vice Mayor Arthurreath.
Present.
Let the record reflect that all are in attendance with the exception of Mayor Marion.
Okay. Everyone rise for the Pledge of Allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We pause for a moment of silence. Just remember all the tragedies that have been falling upon us on a weekly basis lately. And just remember the Veterans Day that just passed. Can't forget that. We have a lot of veterans to remember, and we thank them for their service. Okay, Commissioner Warnick, will you read the executive session report from October 25th?
Certainly. On October 25th, 2017 at 5:43 p.m. on the second floor of Town Hall, the Mayor and Board of Commissioners convened an executive session. A motion to open the meeting was made by Commissioner Altenreath and was seconded by Commissioner Braun. There was a vote of 4-0 to open with the Mayor present. A motion to hold an executive session was made by Commissioner Braun and seconded by Commissioner Pearson. The vote of the elected body was 4-0. The meeting was to discuss the appointment, employment, assignment, promotion, discipline, demotion, compensation, removal, resignation, or performance evaluation of appointees, employees, or officials over whom it has jurisdiction, or any other personnel matters that affect one or more specific individuals. Topics discussed were personnel. Persons other than the elected body present at the closed meeting was Chief Chip Peterson and Jay Golo by conference call. A motion to seal the minutes was made by Commissioner Pearson. A second was by Commissioner Braun. That vote was 4-0. A motion to leave executive session was made by Commissioner Braun, seconded by Commissioner Pearson. That was passed 4-0, and a motion was made by Commissioner Braun and seconded by Commissioner Pearson to adjourn the meeting. That motion was passed 4-0. The meeting adjourned at 8:36 p.m.
Thank you, sir. Do we have any public presentations tonight? Okay. I have a resolution tonight to read that I was going to skip over some of the stuff as we usually do for the boilerplate, but this one's pretty significant. This has to do with a major milestone in our water line that we've been working on for years now. A little bit of allergy, so bear with me as I try to talk through this. This is Resolution 2017-15. It's recommendation of acceptance of award of contract for the construction of the Maryland portion of our new water line. Whereas the town located in Cecil County, Maryland, is a municipality organized under the provisions of the Maryland Constitution and governed under the provisions of the local government article of the Annotated Code of Maryland, and whereas the town is proclaimed as a perpetual entity with the right to pass laws, and whereas the town's current drinking water supplies are inadequate to meet the current needs of the residents and businesses of the town, as there is insufficient capacity to meet demand during drought conditions and any inability to meet maximum demand should a current town well be out of service. And whereas the town does not have adequate drinking water supplies to meet the projected future demands for properties currently within the corporate limits of the town, which are shown to be in the town's service area in the town's water and sewer master plan. And whereas the town also experiences water quality issues from time to time with the drinking water supply as detailed by various Environmental Protection Agency reports. While such issues are common in groundwater sources, an improved supply of filtered and treated water would allow the town to avoid such issues in the future. And whereas the town has extensively studied these issues and solutions alternatives by engaging various engineering firms. In 2012, the engineering firm of CDM Smith issued a report entitled Rising Sun Water System, Evaluation of Groundwater Recharge and Well Development to Augment Supply, which concluded that future development of groundwater supplies by drilling wells and acquiring the associated recharge area was not feasible or cost-effective to meet the town's future needs. In 2016, the engineering firm of GHD issued a report entitled Town of Rising Sun Water System Supply Improvements Preliminary Engineering Report, which also studied various alternatives to solve the town's problem and concluded that the most cost-effective solution to the present and future needs of the town was to connect to the Chester Water Authority water system via a transmission line and purchased finished treated water for consumption by the town. This report was further reviewed by the engineering firm of KCI, the long-standing town engineer, which concurred with the findings therein. And whereas this time period the town investigated other solutions to the problem, which included the construction of transmission lines and purchase of water from the town of Elkton, the town of Northeast, the town of Perryville, and the town of Port Deposit. None of these options were cost-effective in meeting the needs of the town and presented other implementation obstacles. And whereas the town also explored the option of selling the water system to third parties, private, for-profit water companies, or in the alternative, purchasing water from these entities. These solutions also presented obstacles which made them excessively costly and not in the town's long-term best interest. And whereas Chester Water Authority operates an extensive drinking water system which is nationally recognized for its state-of-the-art treatment technology and has sufficient capacity to meet the present and future needs of the town. And whereas over the course of many years, the town has publicly discussed the concept of connecting to the Chester Water Authority system and explored the matter with Chester Water Authority. After reviewing the engineering studies and options cited above, the town selected Chester Water Authority service option as the most cost-effective and feasible option, which would be in the town's best interest to meet both the present and future needs of the town. And whereas on September 13, 2016, the Mayor and Board of Commissioners of Rising Sun adopted Resolution 2016-11 titled Chester Water Connection Agreement, and thereby entered into a bulk water supply and connection agreement with Chester Water Authority for the construction and connection to a water transmission line to deliver adequate water supplies to the residents of Rising Sun. And whereas the project calls for Chester Water Authority to construct a water line through the state of Pennsylvania down to a point on the border of the state of Pennsylvania and the state of Maryland, and to provide for the connection of a new water line to be built by the town of Rising Sun and to be known as the Chester Water System Interconnect Project, which will extend from the connection point at the state line back to the town of Rising Sun's water system. And whereas the town of Rising Sun has engaged the engineering firm of KCI Technologies to design and bid the materials and services needed to construct this Chester Water Interconnect. And whereas, after engaging in recognized engineering practices and following all federal, state, and local regulations and standards, KCI Technologies has formally submitted a formal recommendation for the award of a contract attached hereto as Exhibit A. Therefore, be it enacted and resolved that the Mayor and Commissioners of the Town of Rising Sun, after careful review of said recommendation, wish to award the Chester Water System Interconnect Project to Pact One LLC. Before we ask for the vote, just to give you a little more of the details. We had 5 bidders on the Maryland side construction. The Pennsylvania side, the bids and all were handled by Chester Water Authority for their section. For our section from the Pennsylvania line into the town of Rising Sun, the successful bidder was Pact One LLC with a bid amount of $2,186,200. This was significantly lower than the highest bid, which was $2,900,037.915. Would like to recognize all those and thank all those who bidded. Pac One LLC, the apparent winner, Raybold Construction, Joe and Bradley Construction, Allen Myers Incorporated, Lindstrom Excavating Contractors. So I want to thank all of them for a lot of time. This was a very costly bid analysis for these companies, and we want to congratulate Pac One LLC. We do have a formal recommendation from KCI Technologies after they've investigated past practices of Pac One, other contracts they've worked on, and they have done work for Chester Water in the past. So before us we have Resolution 2017-15, recommended Pac One LLC as the winner of the bid for the Maryland side of the construction with a bid of $2,186,200, which is significantly lower than our original estimate, which is good for the town, very good for us. So do I have a recommendation?
So moved.
Second?
I'll second.
Okay.
Can we open it for discussion?
Yes. Any discussion?
Calvin? I'm trying to be as careful as I possibly can. I saw that KCI used RK&K as a reference for this company. Now, given the history we've had with RK&K, do you feel that KCI's recommendation excluding RK&K would be solid?
Yes, I do. Number one, Pac One, unlike the other companies, when you look at Pac One's website, they advertise themselves as a government, an agency that works on government projects like this. So they're going to be very familiar with the federal regulations involving USDA. I'm not suggesting that the other companies don't, but clearly this company has done a lot of work in the federal government section. The other reason why I think RK&K's involvement set aside is the fact that Chester Water has worked with them in the past, and they were actually disappointed that Pac One had not bid on their portion of the
Okay.
line.
So you feel comfortable with all of this in recommending Pac One?
Yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions, discussion? No. All good? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? The ayes have it unanimously. So we are a large step closer to breaking ground on something that we've been working on for close to 10 years. Thank you, sir. Okay. Citizens input. Ms. Brenda? You don't have to get up if it's hurting.
Brenda, if you feel bad, just
Throw up on it, go ahead. Sorry, guys. The parking issue down on the side, or on the street by the Street Man Productions. The last play they had, we had vehicles from one end to the other, all the way to the stop sign. I did talk to one of the gentlemen, very nice. He said he did not realize that it was posted for no parking, because he says he cannot see the sign. We need signs that, I don't care if they glow in the dark, highlight pink, I don't care. But we need signs that are, the one sign is almost to the ground. We need them up on a pole where they can be seen better, so these guys will not park there. And, I mean, they were very nice.
Paint the curb yellow, that's all.
And then they did come down and park below, and then some of the neighbors started complaining, and of course, you know me, public parking, they can park wherever they want. So, but I mean, I would rather than being parking down there instead of on the street, in case someone needs fire company, ambulance, whatever, at least they can get down in there. So, okey-dokey, that's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Brenda. Anyone else speak to that? Okay. We'll move on.
Al?
Yes, sir.
Just back on that sign with her, I think the wording should change on any sign that you put up, because it says no parking, right now, it currently says no parking any time. And I think that if it said, no parking
On either side.
on either, or on,
Either side.
yeah, either side of the road would have a sign on each side still.
Chief will look into that. Okay. Anyone else?
Yeah.
Okay, we'll move into staff reports, town financials.
First, I wanted to let everybody know that we finished the audit with Weirwick, Kerwin, and Sora. Because we made a few changes, we reprinted July to October. So you have two books. One that has, the big one that has July, August, September, and that's just for your reference with the corrected information that came out of
The
the
big one?
audit. Yeah.
Okay.
We're not gonna go over that one today, so you don't have to worry about all those pages, Alan, okay? Let me get to my book. So you have the little book where you should have a red and a blue tab, correct?
Yes.
The red book is the Town of Rising Sun governmental funds, and you have the report for the compilation. And then the next page, which is page 3, you have the statement of net position. Cash and cash equivalent unrestricted is $504,025.58. And basically, the reason why that number is so high right now is because we've received real estate taxes, which has to get us through many, many months. We have investments of $95,705.33. We still have taxes and service charges. The majority of this is obviously the real estate taxes of $476,399.98. Amounts due from other governments of $21,987.76. Amount due from other funds, which is the net from the proprietary, of $245,384.78. We have other receivables of $16,966.43. We have some restricted cash of $48,892.67, and we have some account payables of $2,814.73. We have a net position for the government of $1,406,547.80. We will go to the next page, and you have total revenue so far, understanding that we recognize real estate taxes all on July 1st, of $1,506,030.56. I want to let you know that we have not really recognized some of the park and recreation money because we haven't received it. If we don't receive it before the end of June, which I would presume we would definitely be done with the project and receive it, we will accrue for it because we've done so much work for it. So we have a revenue that that we're going to receive, that we have a lot of expense for.
That will
Just,
be substantially completed. It has to be done pretty much by December 31st.
okay,
There's going to be some plantings that'll be done in the spring around March. So I think we're going to carry over, we're going to apply for an extension and carry over probably less than $10,000 in plantings.
and I do know we have money coming
So-
from there.
Right.
So the expenditures is $715,683.31 for an excess of revenue right now of $790,347.25, which we will, need to get through the rest of the months. Once you go back to the supplemental information, sorry, I'm trying to do two things here at once. You will see each of your funds, general service, police, and you can look at the budget to actual. On most of them, we are positive with regard to the budget. Some of that is timing and, because of the real estate taxes. But let's go to the very last page, page 8. And we will take a look at total budget to actual. We budgeted $1,582,882.96, and we have received so far $1,506,030.56. We budgeted, and then you have to look at the budget as like a 12, it's just July to October is what you're seeing, except for you're seeing all the revenue uploaded early because we recognize the real estate taxes on July 1st. So I kind of want to explain that because it is a little bit deceiving. So what I really pay attention is we budgeted that we would have an excess of $830,000, and we actually, even though we spent $36,000 less, we only have excess of $790,000. Any questions with regard to that? Do you understand what I'm trying to say there? Okay?
Is,
Mm-hmm.
is some of, okay, is, well, some of that though is because you're.
Because of
is
the Parks and
miscellaneous, the
Recreation.
Parks and Rec, right?
Yes.
Okay, so, yeah, I mean, we're probably looking at almost $200,000, or about $160,000 there that,
Right. So it's kind of hard to really compare apples to apples unless you look at each of the different funds. Because, if you look at general fund, it's looking good. If you look at, the police fund is positive. If you go back 2 pages, you will see the majority of the funds are positive, other than you have the big negative one is Parks and Recreation.
right,
And if you go to page 7, you will see where you're going in the negative expenses by $150,000. Because part of it is, we planned part of that project to happen last year and it didn't happen. And so now we're seeing the effect of that.
yeah. The other part of that is we recently paid the vendor, but then we submit for reimbursement.
That's
We're waiting
correct.
for that money to come in, which should probably be in within the month.
And then we will recognize it because you will see that we're budgeting $173,000 miscellaneous. We have $166,000 that hasn't come in yet.
And timing wise, we wanted that to hit this time of year because we knew we would have good cash flow to
Right,
make this all work.
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, if you're
Then we
gonna
could-
do a project, you're gonna buy capital outlays, it should be at the beginning of the year, not at the end of the year.
Right.
And that's part of the reason why these statements were all reprinted, because the auditor asked for the trial balance, we submitted it to him and didn't know about the purchases of vehicles that hadn't, what was it, Calvin, June 25th?
Yeah. Well, when you say the end of the year, you mean fiscal or calendar, Patty?
Fiscal year.
Okay.
So, that was my recommendation, we don't purchase vehicles in June.
Okay.
Again, even if we have extra cash flow. So, if we move on to the proprietary fund behind the blue sticker, you will see that we have cash and cash equivalent of $1,476,506.85. We have service charge receivables of $166,487.44. We have prepaid expenses of $1,475.60, and this prepaid will go away. We only record prepaids at the end of the year. So once that has been consumed, we will reverse that journal entry. You have amounts due from other funds, and part of this is receivable. The sewer has a receivable for the water, and then you net these two, the 802 below, which is the liability for the receivable, that net number will equal what's sitting on the government fund that's owed. So, you have restricted cash of $70,425.60. That's vibrating. Sorry about that. I get all kinds of weird calls from the accident. So we have restricted cash of $70,425.60, and we have net capital assets of $21,041,169.01. We have accounts payable and accrued expenses of $1,475.60. We have due to other governments, which is the Bay Restoration of $18,231.64. We have long-term debt of $14,688,724.11, and we have the Southern State Escrow of $10,000. We have net investment assets, which is basically your assets minus your liabilities, of $6,352,444.90 for unrestricted remaining of $1,676,759.47. Any questions there? You will see that we've received revenue year-to-date of $403,857.68. We have operating expenditures of $606,307.08, which, if you add back the depreciation of $284,604.64, will be in the black at that point. Then we have our non-operating incomes and interest expense, which brings it down to a negative $23,117.02. So the change in that position is negative $225,566.42. Any questions there? Okay. I'm going to go back to the very last page where we're going to look at budget to actual. And you will see that we're only off from the budget to actual by $19,867.48. But we are under the expenditures that we budgeted for by $56,587.10, and the majority of that is in wages. We get down to, we budgeted that our net position would be negative $333,121.79, and we actually were only negative by $225,566.42. Any questions there? One thing I do want to remind everybody, if you have any questions and you don't want to bring them up in the meeting, you can always give me a call. Everything went well with the audit. We actually finished on time, which due to some changes, a lot of audits got pushed because there were some new rules about inflows and outflows, so we can't technically finish a trial balance by September 30th. And that kind of makes, how do you get all the government audits done in 30 days? It's impossible. But we did get ours done, and it will be dated, I believe, the 30th or the 31st. It was right on the edge. So that was a positive thing that we got done.
Just kind of like, just a thought here. I know it's an accountant's nightmare, but a lot of times in this particular case, our catching on with bids to get our equipment at a reasonable price fell against an accountants. We're kind of in a I want to say limbo. How's that for it? Because we have a financial responsibility to the town that if we can purchase XYZ at a much lesser rate or price by getting it before this date, even though that date falls, I mean,
Right.
that's kind of,
Well, in this situation, if we had just known about it, our office, And I'm gonna be honest with you, we got written up on it. Because the day that we submitted the trial balance to the auditors, which was in August, was the day we got the paperwork on the fixed assets.
Okay.
And there's no way, the trial balance was already sent. So I want everybody to know, because there's gonna be a note saying this is something y'all need to correct. Obviously, it was a communication issue that happened, you know, I'll be honest, between the town and our office. That's why, you know, I say if you can do it before and don't do something on the very last day, because you're trying to close it out, we're trying to close it out, and it's very easy to miss something, you know. But, you know, there's a lot of things that contributed to it.
Okay.
I understand you're trying to get the best price, and I'm fine with that, you know, as long as you understand that that's the reason why we got the write-up.
Right.
So, you know,
Okay. I just,
right.
you know, well, communications.
It's not a bad thing to get a write-up, because that's what an auditor walks in to do.
Okay.
And the particular
They'll
auditor.
find when they look for one.
Right. There are some auditors that will not stop until they can find a point to write you up on, because that's what they want to do. So it's part of the process.
Okay.
Well, from an auditor standpoint, if they're not writing you up, then, you know, somebody's
They're
gonna
not doing-
question, did they do their job?
Right.
So they
That,
wanna have
that's
something.
the big issue.
Yeah.
And it's kind of like you sit there and you say, oh, that was a weird thing to write us up on. And the other second thing was the continuing thing from Howard Bank dropping our collateralization. You know, which, when I was asked about it, I said, don't drop it. But, you know, now we are fine. But the problem is, we didn't find about the problem until October, was when we started the collateralization again. So we had those months from July to October. But, you know, those are not, they're minor things. The big things that you could really be written up on is internal controls. And we don't have a problem there.
Good.
Lost money, we don't have a problem with. So that's the important thing.
Thank you.
But, you know, I know that there was something in the paper saying we're not audited. We are audited every year. We spend hours. We're required.
I was going to say, in all the years I've been involved with the board and commissioners, every year we've had an audit.
I have a box stored because it's one document you're not allowed to scan and shred. And it is, you know, one of those big white boxes. And it goes back into the 60s of audits for each year.
A Rising Sun,
A Rising Sun.
that almost would be interesting to see some of those along the way, but I'm almost somewhat scared to see some of those, but
Well, they're all scanned in also. It would be easy, you know, to,
well, I know you can't get rid of them, but
no.
I didn't think you would just leave them sitting there without any backup, so.
Right. Any other questions?
Thank you, Ms. Wagner. And it's good to know that the audit did find some minor issues that we'll live and learn. And we'll know the next time we have money to buy equipment going forward.
We should let her know.
And then we'll find out if there's, we'll find out something else we didn't do. So,
Commissioner Arthur.
yes.
One thing I just wanted to highlight in here, where to put in perspective the $1.6 million of unrestricted in the utility, I think it's important for the residents and even us to be reminded of the fact that that's, to some degree, sort of reserve money. And that's not a whole lot of money when you think of what we're going through bidding these projects, that as a general rule of thumb, a mile of water and or sewer line costs about $1.3 million to do. And you think of, let's look at all the undersized water lines that we have in town when we talk about fixing them. That's sort of a good snapshot of what, it's not a whole lot of money in reserve, and that's always been a problem with the town going back decades, is that they did not build up their reserve funds, and that's why we had to do such steep financing for these infrastructure issues. So I think that's a good snapshot to show people that $1.6 million is a lot of money, but in the infrastructure world, it's not
It can go
a
quick.
lot of money.
Real quick. Okay, Chief?
Good evening, Mr. Vice Mayor, Commissioners. During the period of October 21st until today, November 14th, we responded to 192 calls for service. The officers and myself used 24 hours of compensatory time, 36 hours of bereavement leave, and 24 hours of vacation. The significant reports taken during that time period was 1 sexual assault, 1 second-degree assault, a felony theft, an overdose, suspicious circumstances, and 2 motor vehicle accident reports. The criminal arrests made was 1 meth arrest, 1 for theft, 1 felony theft, destruction of property, and an assault, second degree. The traffic enforcement, 28 stops were made along Main Street, 6 along Queen Street, 10 on Mount Street, 15 on Pearl Street, 11 on all the other roads, and 3 on Wilson. 1 parking citation was issued. I attended a meeting to upgrade the radio system throughout the county for first responders. There was significant discussion about which of 2 providers to go to. One could guarantee us only 85% coverage inside of a building with 14 decibels of voice recognition, and the other could guarantee us 95%. There still is a lot of discussion between which vendor we're going to go with, but hopefully, if you know anything about our radio system today, there's several dead spots, and Rising Sun's one. At times, we could be standing on a street corner and not get any reception, or we could go into a building. So hopefully, with this new radio system coming about, those problems will be taken care of, and hopefully it's done very soon. The turnaround time at best, at worst case scenario, was approximately 18 months of implementation. I also attended along with the entire Board of Commissioners, and again, I thank you all for supporting your police department. We were the only town that the entire board and mayor, and including Calvin, attended the first responder appreciation dinner. We had 2 officers that were recognized, Stickney and Vanaski. Last year, Officer McKinney was recognized, but as a group, it was great for me to have the support from the entire board, the town administrator, the mayor, at this event. The entire county is working on an upgrade to our report management system, and that is facing several hurdles at this point in time. The laptops that are in the police officers' cars are out of service because the software is not matching up with the computers. So we look to get those back online sometime this week. The county's IT is heading up that venture, so hopefully I can push some buttons to get that done, and those guys will have the computers back in the cars by the end of this week. In addition, I attended the state's attorney's police chiefs meeting with the rest of the chiefs from the county. There was a lot of open discussion about different laws and prosecution in the county, and hopefully things will change. With that being said, that is my report, unless there is some questions.
Chief, with the laptops being out, is that a safety concern for our officers?
Well, not really a safety concern. The majority of the pertinent information comes from dispatch via the radios. However, it does limit the officers with the ability to themselves do research on the situation that they're in. So officer survival skills kick in, and they're supposed to be able to handle these things.
Good.
And they're all trained to that level. So with those being out of the cars, it's just like a throwback to when I had to sit in the car in my days and handwrite reports. These guys get to do it on the computer. Now they're back into writing it by hand. It's like karma. Thank you.
All right, thank you, sir. Calvin, Town Administrator's report.
I have a couple things I want to update the board on. Let me get out of some of this first. The Board of Appeals met last night, and they approved the special exception request for the conversion of a property in the Central Commercial District. They approved a special exception to have it operate as a single-family residential property, so that took place last night. A couple things I wanted to highlight in reference to code enforcement or issues that happen in the town, that although Facebook is a very powerful medium to get the word out on things, I would prefer residents to continue, especially during the working hours, to be contacting Town Hall for these types of events, because sometimes, we're not all attached to the Facebook messaging or the Facebook page itself to see when people are reaching out. On the weekends and after hours, yeah, that can be a great way to try to reach out, but again, that's not always a guarantee. The other item, and I apologize, I don't have it with me here, but on our website, you can find the 24-hour number for our Public Works Department. If you have anything acting up regarding your sewer, water, street collapsing, stuff like that, we do have a Public Works employee that's on call all the time, and that is still the number one way to get the word out. We had a resident who had an issue up on Ryan Drive, and unfortunately had to wait for a couple of hours and until I think somebody through Facebook said, we'll call the 24-hour Public Works number. And then once that was done, our Public Works was able to get out there and assist them with it. So Facebook is great, but remember, just like the chief had just said, there's always the old school way that worked for many years also, and let's not forget about those. The other thing, I don't have pictures because there is the elected body, we still need to have a discussion about how we want to handle some of the pictures of things that I encounter from a code enforcement standpoint. But this is, that old saying, this is not necessarily your grandfather's rising sun anymore in terms of the quality of certain buildings and especially apartment units. We are finding some properties that are really a little scary, that on the outside you would not realize that they are that bad. And we had an incident today that I want to remind what I told the young lady in the apartment is that, number one, anything that is installed that can hurt somebody, if it fails, pretty much you need a permit for it. Because that's the reason for the permits. Permits are not about making money. Permits are about making sure things are done right. So if you're living in an apartment complex and they come in and they put a hot water heater in, or your floor is rotted away, which wire would be rotted. I mean, you think about how long it takes to rot away 3/4-inch plywood. That's a lot of leaking water over a long period of time to rot away plywood. But don't be afraid to ever call Town Hall and say, hey, my landlord is doing this, and should somebody be checking this out? I had a discussion today. I was asked, well, why would anybody need a permit for a hot water heater? Well, if it's any kind of, propane or something like that, there's exhaust that comes off it. And one of the pictures I took today is some exhaust piping that I need to do more research, but I'm not sure if it's the ideal way to be piping the exhaust. There are blow-off valves on hot water heaters. If you go down and look at your hot water heater and see that little valve that comes out about 8 inches or so from the top of the tank that has that little spring-loaded thing, that's a safety valve that if the pressure ever builds up, it gets too hot. Instead of the vessel blowing up, it exhausts itself out that valve. If you don't have that drip tube there and you're standing anywhere near that, that means you're going to get hit with the scalding water that blows out of there. So, when somebody's doing work in your property, please, for your own benefit, ask them if they have a permit for it. Call town hall if there's anything in question. If somebody does electrical work, one of the number one causes of fires is, faulty electrical work. And once we sort of figure out how we want to handle some of these pictures, it might be a good idea to start doing a segment at some of these town meetings to really show people what's going on behind closed doors. And, I'll say this to you. Think if you have 20-year-old kids that are starting out in their lives and they're getting their first apartment and they're renting something, they might not know what they don't know. And so they are at the mercy of somebody who is collecting rent from them and doing work, and it might not be a good situation that they're moving into, and they have no idea. I've done some inspections on some pretty significant buildings that have only been in operation now for about 4 years, and I'm finding in a commercial application where people are working on a daily basis, I have outlets that are just ripped out of the wall, hanging there with the wires exposed. And we drive down the road and we look at the outside and say, wow, what a wonderful business. Look at how the outside looks, but the people on the inside, there is a little risk of what they're doing because they don't know what they don't know, and they can be taken advantage of. So we have buildings that have electrical hazards. We have buildings where fire exits are clearly blocked, and you would wonder why you would have to tell somebody they can't stack a whole bunch of boxes in front of the rear door that has the exit sign over it, and they look at you cross-eyed when you tell them that. And all it's going to take is that, and Augie, you can attest to this, we know from being in the fire service, the first 10 minutes of a fire call is what makes or breaks what happens thereafter. If the fire department doesn't place equipment in the right locations, it can be a long night. Well, it's no different long before the fire company gets there. If an event happens, if in the first 10 minutes people are not able to do what they should be able to do because codes are not being followed, that could be really catastrophic. So there's a reason why we are doing public building inspections, and the voluminous amount of just common sense code issues that we are finding would not be tolerated in other communities and other jurisdictions. And we're just starting to peel that layer back to see what's really going on. So it's a little concerning. Now, there are also some fantastic businesses out here. This is not an indictment on businesses in this community. There are some that are just fantastic businesses that are very clean. There aren't any code issues, but we have a minority that we have issues with, and we need to start addressing them. The other thing I want to say to people who call about complaints is that, and we're getting a lot of these, especially on living conditions, the code department has no legal right to just go into a building. And I've been getting complaints lately of, well, I know that that's a bedroom up there, and that window is only 18 inches by 18 inches. If there's a fire, there's no way that person can get out. I'll never be able to go into a court and make an assumption and hold a landlord accountable for that and make them do something unless I'm on the inside and can see that there truly is a bedroom and the window's not large enough. So if you have a complaint, by all means, bring it to my attention or bring it to anybody's attention, but realize that there's a due process involved, and we need to be able to see that violation firsthand. We can't just make assumptions, and that really frustrates people of lately because they want us to be able to do something, but we can't make assumptions. We have to see it firsthand. So if you have somebody living in a tenant situation who is concerned about it, they have the right to invite us in to look at that. Now, with that said, let me also leave this in your mind regarding the way I approach these things. At the end of the day, I'm looking for compliance. At the end of the day, as a public servant, I view my job is to get people to the finish line. What I mean by that is get them to the finish line, whether it's something they want to do, whether they want to build an addition on their home, open up their business, do something exciting with their property. It's my job to get them over the finish line, not trip them so they fall flat on their face. And in the same token, someone who might not be in code compliance, it's not my focus to trip somebody up and say, hey, you didn't get over the finish line, we're going to beat you over the head with citations and violation notices. That's not what our goal is, and that's not what our focus is. I've always said that as a code officer, if I can get somebody to reach over the counter and say, thank you for convincing me to invest money in my property that I never thought I would invest, then I'm doing my job, because at that point I've motivated them and helped them to understand the consequences of things being unsafe. So our goal is not to go out and write people up. Our goal is to get everybody to the finish line. So I just, I don't want to send a scary message out there that people are going to be in trouble. I just want to get code compliance so that everybody's better off for that at the end of the day. That's all I have.
Thank you, Calvin. One thing I'd like to add to that, because I'm one of those residents getting ready to have a hot water heater replaced. And although I've been a mechanic for 40 years, do I know all the ins and outs of replacing my hot water heater that's propane? No. So the fee for permits is not so the town can have another revenue source, because it barely covers the time to send Calvin or whoever the inspector is that comes out to inspect it, but it's insurance to make sure that that contractor or that home improvement guy did the job correctly. And I always say that you're purchasing a little bit of insurance, and it can be twofold. If somebody says, your house hasn't had any upgrades, not worth anything, you can say, well, here's my building permits where I had all this work done. And that is proof that the value of your house should go up. And it's also proof if the insurance should come back and say, well, your hot water heater burnt your house down, who installed it? Well, I had this guy install it, and here's my building permit, and here's proof. And that'll usually be what they need to cover you. So don't just look at the building permits as a way the town is trying to make money, as some people put it off. Think of it as insurance to make sure you're covered and protected. We also have a lot of residents who are in rental properties reaching out to the Board of Commissioners saying, please help. I'm renting this place. I'm calling my landlord. They're not doing this or not doing that. Please help. And that's how when you hear us talk about rental properties, we're not out to get the rental properties. We are being asked to come in and help these residents, and we do have a significant number of rental properties, not just in Rising Sun, all around us. Rental properties are a way of people making money. It's been around forever. There will always be those who prefer to rent as opposed to buy or can't. And they reach out to the municipalities in every town in Cecil County saying, please help, I'm getting nowhere with this person. They're going to throw me out if I don't pay my rent, but I've got all these violations that don't look safe, and I'd like some help. And that's one of the reasons why you hear us bringing that up.
For a little bit of levity to the discussion, the one thing that I can't fix is the ice cream machine at McDonald's. You would not believe the number of emails that I get from people who file complaints because either the frappe machine is not working or the ice cream machine is not working. People lose their mind, and I get emails asking me to do something about it. So that I can't fix.
They do call us about issues going on at businesses, believe it or not. Okay, commissioner comments. A few things I'd like to talk about. First and foremost, Friday night, WXCY Radio was up here. Sun Pharmacy was having an open house, and they were up and was over visiting with them. And Tom reminded me that our Carol Sing is just a few weeks away. So mark your calendars, December 5th, 7 p.m. And we'll talk about this more as it gets closer, but Mayor Marion, once again, has reached out. We'll have a large live tree outside, and we hope this year we'll have good weather, no rain. This is another one of the family events that I found so impressive about the town that I've talked about this year. You know, this was the first year I got to go to the fishing derby and to see grandparents, great-grandparents bringing their family, kids. The baseball opening day that we all rode in the parade to see the families around, and Carol Sing. It's a great event.
What time does Carol Sing start again?
It's December 5th at 7 p.m. Come early to get a good seat, though, and a good spot. As you know, Tom Connolly from Sun Pharmacy and Jane's Church usually lead this, and usually our Lions Club is on board and brings Santa Claus and refreshments and stuff. So, it's going to be a great event. So just want to make sure everybody has that on their calendar. Another thing I wanted to mention, our neighbors out at Meadows Farm on the east side of town, they'll be having a Christmas bazaar in Santa Lane, December 8th and 9th from 5 to 9 p.m. Also, upcoming Christmas events and holiday events at Plumpton Park Zoo. They've got a lot going on out there, and so get out and see them, and I think they've got some new babies out there, too. Recently, in October, Commissioner Warnick and I were at the County Council for their vote on Phase 1, the first section of property that was the Octorara Railroad Trail between Biggs Highway and Main Street, runs over behind Martin's McKinley Apartments. And the County Council voted unanimously to transfer that property to the town of Rising Sun as part of our Rails to Trails for only $1. And Commissioner Warnick will give you more details on what Phase 1 is going to entitle under the Parks and Rec. But we want to thank the County Council for their unanimous support in that and their support going forward on that. Another thing, as the chief mentioned, we all were in attendance for the first responders, the second annual first responders appreciation dinner last week, and it was we had a really great story from it. It was at Denise Hill, and the tragedy that happened to her one night out on a call, and to see another group in Cecil County that it's not just in Cecil County, but the firefighter, EMS, and law enforcement community, family, all over. So it was humbling to be there with the chief and his guys and the whole board, all the commissioners, and it was a great time. And we saw we heard some impressive stories and got to show our appreciation for many who are veterans also, and who are part-time and full-time law enforcement and fire and EMS first responders. On the water issue, like I said, when I read the announcement and the resolution, we've come a long way on this. Yeah, it's gonna be a little expensive, but one good thing about that price we just got, it's a little lower than what we expected. We already have our base spreading out, which is going to make it a little easier on everybody. But it's an infrastructure project that everybody in every town in the United States is suffering with. You can't move away and expect to find it unless you're moving into a town that's already done it, and the rate's going to be higher. So we look forward to our upcoming groundbreaking ceremony. And I think once Mayor Marion gets back, we'll have more information on that, and we hope to get that underway before the bad weather sets in. Again, special thanks to Chief, and congratulations on 10 years to you and Calvin. And I think the mayor has some other upcoming awards to give out once he returns. Excuse me. So that's all I have. Commissioner Warnick, you next.
I'm gonna go
Or-
next.
Yeah, you go ahead. We'll just-
We're gonna do this backwards?
Yeah, we'll do this back.
Sweet. I never get to go first.
We'll kill the Travis with the
Okay. So there's a number of things going on in Parks and Rec. We, as I kind of alluded to during the whole discussion around the budget and such, most of the project at Veterans Park is completed. There's the only section left to be completed other than some plantings is the section of stormwater management at the kind of, we'll say, northeastern corner of the park property. That should be done probably within about the next, well, weather permitting, because right now it's like a pond over there. They need it to dry out some before they can finish grading. But if the weather will cooperate for maybe a week or two, then hopefully they'll have that completed probably by the end of the month. Regardless, they intend to complete that and the initial plantings up by the Public Works building by December 31st. We talked today about applying for an extension to allow the town allow Ecotone actually about an extra about 3 months, to complete the plantings down in the wetlands area. So we'll be doing those in the spring. It amounts to about $3,000 worth of work that would be remaining, that would be completed somewhere in the March-April timeframe. And that's just planting of trees and some perennial vegetation around the stormwater management over at the park. Over at Public Works. But the project over by Public Works is about 95% complete. You can see there's a series of 22 step ponds down through there. I did not get a chance to put together a presentation for tonight, so I have some pictures of it, but I don't have it ready to present tonight. On the Rails to Trails front, we have been working with the county. We've gotten some verbal okays to start clearing out brush. I've avoided doing any major changes, such as cutting down trees or placing any trails or anything like that without a more formal agreement. But we have about the first 700 feet of trail blazed from Biggs Highway towards Hopewell. The section between Biggs and Main Street is an excavation project, so I believe it's 60 days after November 30th. And November 30th is our settlement date. 60 days after that, we have to wait, and then we can start work on that portion. And then there's also been some clearing done on the section near Stone Run. So, the first phase that we were trying to get accomplished by probably around next summer is underway, and hopefully we'll, this upcoming summer we'll have a little section of trail completed people can start utilizing. A little bit of outstanding business. I have my half of the $20 for refreshments from the previous meeting. So we can pass that along to the town administrator.
Patty.
Oh, to Patty, I'm sorry. We'll pass that along to the town accountant. That's perfect. Hey, Chief, would you mind?
And here's the 19.
Yeah.
I think we're 37.
Yeah, we're-
37 cents.
So
At the last meeting,
We're actually donating a little to the town.
Yeah, that's a reimbursement for refreshments. The town paid for last week's
Swearing in.
ceremony that we are reimbursing the town for.
Okay.
And
I'll have them deposited into the general fund tomorrow.
thank you. And with that, I think that is the conclusion of my report.
Okay, thank you,
Thank
sir.
you.
Commissioner Braun?
The planning and zoning is continuing to work on the zoning ordinances, but we've had several days that we had cases and we're not able to work on it, but we're still at it and still trying to meet twice a month to get that done.
Okay, thank you. Commissioner Pearson?
Okay, again, I would like to thank George Vinansky and Dan Stickney for being our representatives at the First Responders banquet last week. And again, we showed total community support. Going back to what Calvin said a little while ago about Facebook. Last week, there was a lot of clamoring about doing away with our police department by, I don't know whether they're residents or non-residents. But the best way to sum this up, okay, is if we were to do away with our police department, you would be literally left with no police coverage. The county cannot subsidize us. The Maryland State Police cannot. They do not have the manpower. There are other communities around who are subsidizing, and they're finding out that this doesn't really work, because when you need a police officer, there is an extended time, because those police officers, whether they're sheriffs, well, in this case it's sheriffs, if something happens outside of their allotted time that they're to be in that community, they fall under the same jurisdiction as the rest of the county. And if you live in Conowingo, you'll know that there's only one sheriff from Rising Sun West to cover Conowingo and the upper part of Port, out where Rawlinsville Road is and all of that, okay? We would be in that same predicament. And it is just not a viable option that we as a community should take. I just want to make everybody understand that, yeah, it sounds good when you say, well, we would save money. Put a price on it. You know, and that price is an expensive price to take, okay? Trust me, having been in the fire service for many years, that analogy of having your homeowner's insurance, you don't pay it, you lose everything if you have a fire. The same thing is here. If we need police, we need our police, not wait for someone else to get here. In fact, in a lot of cases, Oxford or West Nottingham could probably get here quicker than our sheriffs or state police. So, thank you very much. I have nothing else.
Thank you, sir. Just an announcement of some upcoming meetings. We have a Planning Commission workshop on November the 20th, 2017 at 6:30 p.m. The next town meeting is scheduled for November 28th, 2017 at 7 p.m. Another Planning Commission workshop, December the 6th at 6:30 p.m. A town meeting, December 12th at 7 p.m. And another Planning Commission workshop, December 6th. Why do we have that on there twice, Calvin?
Yeah, it's a typo. I apologize.
So, all right. And then, again, the Carol Sing, December 5th, 7 p.m. Let's make sure we're there. And then upcoming holidays, of course, next week, the 23rd is Thanksgiving. Town Hall will be closed the 23rd, and we've also will be closed on the 24th. So we want to wish everybody a happy Thanksgiving. Hope everybody has more to eat than they can that weekend.
Please be safe over the Thanksgiving holiday.
There's frying turkeys. And now I've seen a new one, cooking trash can turkeys with charcoal. My goodness, what will we think of next? So,
Please be
plastic trash
safe.
can?
Be safe frying a
Galvanized.
turkey. Do not fry it on your back deck,
or in your garage.
please, or in your garage.
Or in your kitchen.
It does not do well when that frozen turkey hits that hot oil. It just is not a very pleasant sight. Unless that is, you're trying to collect insurance, which is another avenue.
Make sure you have your permits all in place. Oh, you're going. Calvin, jot that down. A turkey frying permit.
Oh, yeah, it's called common sense, but I don't know if we can sell that many permits.
Okay. Is there anything else come before the board tonight?
Mr. Vice Mayor, I'd just like to One comment to Commissioner Pearson's. Chief, I believe that, you could, just affirm this or whatever, but I believe in many instances in this part of the county, Rising Sun Police Department is the first to respond as part of our mutual aid. Quite frequently, the sheriff's office knows they're going to be delayed, and they ask us to assist until they can be on scene.
Many instances, west of 272.
Yeah, so,
Here for deposit, we've responded because they're delayed.
yep, so, I just to reiterate
Yep.
Commissioner Pearson's comments that, it's, there's a reason why this is one of the safest communities in Cecil County. And, it would not take much for that status to potentially change without a police department.
Exactly.
One other thing I'd like to add, I mean, a few weeks ago, there was a fugitive who was a pretty bad guy, and he had walked away from a detail, and he came to this area, and our law enforcement community was out in full force, and they found him, to see the officers walk around in camo with their weapons, I wasn't scared. I was glad to see that, and I knew that they were going to get him. So, our law enforcement community was out in full force and made sure that this bad guy was captured, so we could go on about our daily business without worrying about whether he was hiding in the woods behind our house or in the bushes across the street or wherever, and looking for a hostage or a carjacking or something, or a way to get away.
And to that, the chief and our officers were instrumental in that operation, and our town hall was utilized, I believe, as a command center for that. So.
Yeah. So congratulations to our officers, chief, your men, and the whole community, the sheriffs, the state police, because they were out everywhere. They had this guy boxed in. He wasn't going anywhere, and I was glad that I live in a community where that's happening.
I don't want to delay the closing of the meeting, but what I would like to say is we cannot do our job without the help that we get from the community. During that period of time, I had people telephoning, texting, Facebook messaging, information about this individual that even those that started the investigation did not know. We were able to get a lot of pertinent information about him to figure out where he may be going to, where he had come from, and to the degree that we finally flushed him out of where he was hiding. Yeah. And it's the community of Rising Sun that's the great part of our success as law enforcement, because they will provide us information when we need it.
So the cliche saying, see something, say something.
Oh, absolutely.
The chief and them can't see as much as we all see on a daily basis. I always say, if you're going away on vacation or something, call the chief, let him know that there's nobody going to be home at your house even if it's just for the weekend or a week. Let our guys know things like that, and he'll be glad to help keep an eye on stuff. So, anything else, guys? Motion to adjourn?
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.